The massive ship glided silently through the void of space, Earth's first true interstellar vessel on its maiden voyage beyond our solar system. On the bridge, Commander Hansol Park stood tall, his dark eyes fixed on the viewscreen as stars streaked past. After 5 years of travel, they had finally reached their destination, a system where unusual signals had been detected. "Captain, we're picking up an artificial structure," reported Officer Minho, his fingers dancing across the control panel. "It's massive, and it's moving toward us." Hansol nodded calmly, though his heart raced. "First contact protocol. Open all communication channels." The structure grew larger on their screens, a sleek, silver vessel at least 10 times the size of their own. Its surface gleamed with strange lights that pulsed in patterns none of them recognized. "We're being scanned," Minho said, voice dropping to a whisper. Before Hansol could respond, the view screen flickered and revealed a being unlike anything they had ever seen. It had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on a face with smooth, pale blue skin. When it spoke, its words were instantly translated by their systems. "Greetings, explorers. I am Ambassador Rio of the Craxian hegemony. You have entered our domain." The meeting that followed seemed promising. The Craxians invited a small delegation aboard their vessel, where Hansol and his team were shown wonders beyond human imagination. The aliens spoke of peace, of technological exchange, of helping humanity join the galactic community. "Your species shows remarkable potential," Rio told them during a lavish feast. "We have guided many emerging civilizations." But Science Officer Sunmi Lee noticed something troubling. While examining their host's technology with permission, she discovered hidden files in their database. That night, in the privacy of their quarters aboard the human vessel, she shared her findings with Hansol and Security Chief Ji Young. "They're not guides," Sunmi said quietly. "They're conquerors. Look at these records, dozens of species, all classified and subjugated. They call it the Integration Protocol." Ji Young's face hardened. "We need to warn Earth." The next day, Hansol approached the meetings with caution. He asked careful questions about other species, about freedom, about choice. The Craxian responses were smooth but evasive. Then, during what was supposed to be a cultural exchange, Ambassador Rio made their true intentions clear. "We have completed our assessment," Rio announced, standing before the human delegation. "Humanity has been classified as a Class 3 developmental species. You have achieved space travel but lack proper understanding of galactic order. As per Hegemony Protocol, Earth will now begin the integration process. Your governments will receive our representatives who will oversee your transition to a productive member system." Hansol felt cold anger rise in his chest. "And if we refuse this integration?" The 4 eyes of the ambassador blinked in sequence. "Refusal is not an option that has proven beneficial to any species. But perhaps you need a demonstration of the realities of galactic politics." Hansol stood his ground. "Humanity does not submit to threats. We came in peace, seeking friendship among the stars. If your offer is subjugation, then we must decline." The Craxian delegation seemed almost amused. "This was not an offer, Commander. This was a courtesy notification. Your acceptance is not required." The humans were escorted back to their ship with suspicious haste. As soon as they were aboard, Hansol ordered immediate departure from the Craxian vessel's vicinity. "Set course for Earth, maximum speed," he commanded. "And prepare a complete report for Earth Command. They need to know what's coming." 3 days later, while still traveling home, they received the transmission. The Craxians had somehow reached Europa faster than should have been possible. The human outpost there, a research station with 200 scientists and engineers, had been reduced to floating debris. The message that accompanied the footage was brief, a demonstration of the consequences of defiance. In the silence that followed the transmission, Hansol looked at the faces of his crew, shock, horror, and growing anger reflected in their eyes. "They think they've frightened us into submission," he said quietly. "They think we'll bow down rather than face their superior technology." He straightened his shoulders. "But they've made a critical error." "What's that, Commander?" asked Minho. "They've challenged humanity. Han Solo's eyes were hard as steel. And they have no idea what that means. Humans don't surrender when threatened. We fight harder. We adapt. We overcome. As their ship raced toward Earth, carrying warning of the threat to come, Han Solo knew one thing with certainty: the Craxians had just declared war on the wrong species. The Craxian invasion began exactly as their military doctrine prescribed. 3 massive warships appeared in Earth's orbit, positioning themselves over major cities. Their message was simple: surrender or face destruction. They gave humanity 48 hours to decide. In an underground command center beneath Seoul, Admiral Ji-woo Kim studied the enemy vessels on the monitoring screens. Unlike the panicked politicians above, she remained calm. They only sent 3 ships, she noted to her staff. They think this will be easy. Earth's response was not what the Craxians expected. Instead of surrender, they received silence. No communication, no pleading, no negotiation attempts. Just silence. When the deadline passed, the lead Craxian vessel positioned itself over New York, weapons charging for a demonstration strike. But before they could fire, something unexpected happened. From hidden lunar bases, small human vessels emerged, launching not toward the Craxian ships but toward their blind spots. "Stealth teams in position," reported Officer Du Yun, his voice tense as he monitored the operation. Admiral Ji-woo nodded. "Engage magnetic grapples." The tiny ships, barely visible against the darkness of space, attached themselves to the hulls of the massive Craxian vessels. Aboard each small craft, teams of engineers worked quickly, drilling through specific points on the alien hulls. On the Craxian flagship, Supreme Commander Tak was growing impatient. Why have the humans not responded? Begin the demonstration attack. His weapons officer moved to comply, but suddenly alarms blared throughout the ship. Their shields flickered and failed, and critical systems began shutting down. "Impossible!" Tak roared. "What is happening?" Back in the Seoul Command Center, Dr. Sunmi Lee watched with satisfaction as her theory proved correct. 3 weeks of studying the Craxian technology salvaged from their first encounter had revealed a crucial weakness. "Their systems are completely integrated," she explained to Ji-woo. "They never considered that anyone would physically breach their hulls. Their shields protect against energy weapons and impacts, but not against someone drilling a small hole and inserting a disruptor directly into their power conduits." The Craxian ships hung powerless in orbit, their crews frantically trying to restore systems. It was then that Earth revealed its second surprise. From concealed silos around the planet, missiles launched toward the disabled vessels. Not nuclear weapons as the Craxians might have expected, but something far more clever. EMP warheads modified with the resonance frequency of their hull material, Sunmi explained. "It won't destroy their ships, but it will fry every piece of electronics on board." When the missiles detonated, they didn't explode in the traditional sense. Instead, they released waves of energy that washed over the Craxian vessels, penetrating their hulls as if they weren't there. Inside, every system, backup, and emergency protocol failed simultaneously. Admiral Ji-woo opened a communication channel to the powerless ships. "Craxian vessels, this is Earth Defense Command. Your ships are disabled. You have 2 options: surrender or drift in space until your life support fails. We will provide coordinates for a controlled landing if you choose to surrender." On his darkened bridge, Commander Tak could scarcely believe what had happened. His mighty warships, capable of destroying entire cities, had been defeated without firing a single shot. The humans, a species they had classified as primitive, had somehow identified and exploited weaknesses the Craxians didn't even know they had. "Send the surrender signal," he ordered reluctantly. The next day, the Craxian High Council received the news of their failed first strike. Instead of recognizing the threat, they responded with outrage. 3 ships was clearly insufficient, declared High Counselor Mari. "These humans are more troublesome than anticipated. Deploy the 7th Fleet. Show them what real Craxian power looks like." On Earth, as captured Craxian crew members were interviewed by human intelligence officers, Admiral Ji-woo and Dr. Sunmi prepared for the next phase. They'll send more ships next time, Jiwoo said, studying the Craxian star charts they had captured.
Sunmi nodded, already working on new countermeasures.
And they'll try to fix the vulnerabilities we exploited.
Will that be a problem?
The scientist smiled.
No. That's exactly what I'm counting on.
They think in straight lines: problem, solution, end of story.
They don't understand how humans think.
As predicted, Craxian engineers were already redesigning their shield systems and hull integrity protocols, focusing entirely on preventing another attack like the one they had just experienced.
Let them come, Jiwoo said, watching the preparations around her.
Every time they underestimate us, we get stronger. In the heart of the research facility, hundreds of scientists and engineers were already reverse engineering Craxian technology, adapting it in ways its creators had never imagined.
The aliens had expected an easy conquest.
Instead, they had awakened humanity's greatest strength, our ability to adapt, innovate, and overcome seemingly impossible odds. Captain Tae-ho-yoon crept through the dimly lit corridors of the captured Craxian outpost on Mars. 6 months had passed since the first invasion, and the Craxians had returned with a vengeance. Their 7th fleet now blockaded Earth, with over 30 warships preventing any conventional escape.
But conventional was not in humanity's vocabulary anymore. Status report, Tae-ho whispered into his comm unit.
Eastern sector secure, replied Lieutenant Eun-ji from her position. Their security systems still think we're maintenance drones.
Tae-ho smiled slightly.
The human resistance had discovered that Craxian security systems identified entities by their electronic signatures, not visual confirmation.
Dr. Sunmi's team had created small devices that mimicked Craxian maintenance drone signatures, allowing human infiltrators to move freely in enemy territory. In the central command room, Tae-ho and his team worked quickly. They weren't there to destroy the outpost, they had a much more valuable objective.
Begin the upload, Tae-ho ordered as his tech specialist connected a small device to the Craxian mainframe. This was humanity's new strategy. Rather than trying to match Craxian firepower, they went after their communication and coordination systems. The device they planted contained what engineers called chaos code, not a virus in the traditional sense, but a program that made small, nearly undetectable changes to data throughout the system.
Chaos code deployed, the specialist confirmed. It'll spread through their network like it was designed to do.
Elsewhere across the solar system, similar teams infiltrated other Craxian installations. Some placed physical devices that interfered with their sensors. Others rerouted power systems to create unpredictable failures. One bold team had even replaced navigation data with subtly altered coordinates that would send Craxian ships slightly off course, gradually separating their fleet formations. In the main Earth defense bunker, Dr. Sunmi Lee monitored the progress of all these operations. She had become the heart of humanity's resistance, turning her deep understanding of physics toward weaponizing the Craxians' own technology against them. The beauty of their technology is also its greatest weakness, she explained to Admiral Jiwoo.
Everything is connected, everything is automated.
They've removed the human element that adapts to unexpected situations. The Admiral studied the holographic display showing Craxian ship positions.
When will we see results? It's already happening, Sunmi pointed to subtle shifts in the enemy formation. Their ships are receiving conflicting data. Some are adjusting course without realizing it.
Others are getting false readings from what they think are friendly vessels.
The Craxians couldn't understand what was happening. Their systems showed everything functioning normally, yet their perfectly coordinated fleet was slowly falling into disarray. Ships reported phantom enemy contacts. Communication delays grew longer. Navigation systems required constant recalibration.
On the Craxian command ship, Fleet Commander Hajun was losing patience. How can these primitives be causing such problems? He demanded of his chief engineer. They have no ships that can match ours, no weapons that can penetrate our shields.
That's the problem, sir, the engineer replied reluctantly. They're not attacking our ships or weapons.
They're attacking our information systems in ways we never anticipated. They're changing the rules of warfare.
Meanwhile, humanity wasn't just playing defense.
In hidden facilities around the solar system, captured Craxian technology was being studied, adapted, and improved.
What the aliens had built for one purpose, humans reimagined for dozens of others.
Craxian power cores, designed only for their ships, were modified to create portable energy sources for human settlements. Their communication technology was reverse-engineered to detect and track Craxian movements. Even their food synthesizers were reprogrammed to produce materials useful for resistance operations. In an underground lab on Titan, Unji's sister Gina led a team working on the biggest breakthrough yet. They had discovered that Craxian weapons systems operated on predictable quantum frequencies. With the right calibrations, human ships could potentially become invisible to Craxian targeting systems. "It's ready for testing," Gina announced to her team, holding up a small device that pulsed with blue light. "If this works, our ships can move freely through their blockade." The first test came 3 days later.
A small human transport ship, equipped with Gina's quantum ghost device, approached the Craxian blockade.
On board, the crew held their breath as they passed directly between two massive enemy warships.
The Craxian vessels didn't react.
Their systems registered nothing unusual, just empty space where the human ship actually was. Back on Earth, the news of this success spread like wildfire through resistance channels. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity had a way to move freely despite the blockade.
"Tell all teams to accelerate operations," Admiral Jiwoo ordered. "The Craxians think they've trapped us, but they've actually trapped themselves. They just don't know it yet." The tide was turning.
What the Craxians saw as primitive desperation, humanity knew was its greatest strength, the ability to think beyond established limits, to adapt, to see possibilities where others saw only obstacles. In the quiet town of Millbrook, Sarah Anderson stood at the crossroads of her life, feeling the weight of an impossible decision. Her hands trembled slightly as she clutched the mysterious letter that would change everything. The envelope, with its faded postmark and delicate handwriting, held secrets that had been hidden for decades. Sarah's grandmother, Elizabeth, had recently passed away, leaving behind a small wooden box filled with old documents and a single photograph that seemed to whisper untold stories. The letter inside was addressed to her, but its contents suggested a narrative far more complex than she could have imagined. The photograph showed a young woman standing near an old lighthouse, her eyes filled with a mixture of hope and sadness. Something about the image tugged at Sarah's heart. She recognized the lighthouse. It was the same one that stood on the rocky cliff just outside of town, a landmark she had seen 1,000 times but never truly noticed. As the afternoon sunlight filtered through her living room window, Sarah read the letter again. Her grandmother's words spoke of a love lost, a secret kept, and a choice that had haunted her entire life. The story unfolded like a delicate piece of fabric, revealing threads of a past that had been carefully hidden away. During World War II, Elizabeth had fallen in love with a young soldier named Thomas. They had met briefly during a dance in town, their connection instant and profound. But war was cruel, and Thomas was sent overseas, promising to return and marry her.
Months passed, and then years. The letters became less frequent, and hope began to fade. Sarah's hand traced the edges of the old photograph. She could see the pain in her grandmother's younger self, the hope that had slowly turned into a quiet acceptance of loss. But the letter suggested something more. There was a hint of a different story, a path not taken, a secret that had been buried deep within her grandmother's heart. The lighthouse in the photograph seemed to call to her. Sarah felt an unexplained connection, a pull that she couldn't ignore. Something inside her knew that the answers she sought were waiting there, hidden among the rocky shores and weathered stones. She remembered her grandmother's last words, spoken softly from her hospital bed. "Some stories are meant to be discovered," Elizabeth had whispered, her eyes distant yet knowing. At the time, Sarah had thought it was just the medication talking, but now the words rang with a different meaning. The town of Millbrook was small, where everyone knew everyone, but secrets could still find dark corners to hide. Sarah realized that her grandmother's life was far more complex than the simple narrative she had always believed. The letter suggested a truth that would challenge everything she thought she knew about her family's history. As evening approached, Sarah made a decision. She would visit the lighthouse, follow the clues hidden in the letter, and uncover the truth that had been waiting all these years. The photographs, the letter, the mysterious connection, they all pointed to something significant.
her heart raced with a mixture of excitement and fear. What would she discover?
What secrets had her grandmother kept locked away for so many years?
The lighthouse stood as a silent witness, holding memories that had waited generations to be revealed. Sarah packed a small bag, gathered the letter and photograph, and prepared for a journey that would change her understanding of family, love, and the choices people make when faced with impossible circumstances. The turning point was near, and she could feel it in every fiber of her being. The old lighthouse waited, its beacon a metaphor for the truth that was about to emerge, illuminating the darkness, revealing what had been hidden, bringing clarity to a story that had remained untold for decades. As she drove towards the rocky coastline, Sarah knew that some discoveries could reshape entire lives. The truth was waiting, patient and unbroken, ready to be understood at last. In the quiet city of Millbrook, a strange transformation was taking shape. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood by her laboratory window, watching the world outside slowly change. Something extraordinary was happening, and she was at the center of it all.
For years, scientists had been searching for a breakthrough that would revolutionize human understanding.
Elena's research had been different from the start. She wasn't just looking for answers, she was creating a completely new way of thinking about technology and human potential. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. During a late-night experiment, Elena discovered a unique method of connecting human consciousness with advanced artificial intelligence.
It wasn't like anything anyone had seen before.
The technology could bridge the gap between human intuition and machine precision in ways no one thought possible. Her team had worked tirelessly for months. Young researchers like Marcus and Sarah had dedicated every waking moment to understanding the potential of this new approach. They knew they were on the edge of something remarkable.
The first successful test happened on a rainy Tuesday morning.
A volunteer named James sat connected to the experimental system. His brainwaves began to synchronize with the computer's processing capabilities in real time. It was like watching two different languages suddenly understand each other perfectly. People outside the scientific community didn't understand what was happening. To them, it seemed like another complicated research project.
But Elena knew this was different.
This wasn't just about technology, it was about expanding human potential. The city around them continued its normal routine. People walked their dogs, drove to work, and went about their daily lives.
Nobody realized that just a few blocks away, a technological revolution was brewing.
Marcus noticed something strange during the third test.
The connection between human thought and machine processing was becoming more fluid.
It was as if the boundaries between human intelligence and artificial intelligence were blurring.
Sarah documented everything meticulously.
She understood that what they were doing could change everything: education, medical treatment, problem solving, and how humans interact with technology.
The implications were massive.
Elena watched her team work with a mixture of excitement and caution. She knew that every great discovery came with potential risks. They weren't just creating a new technology, they were reshaping the relationship between humans and machines.
The breakthrough wasn't just technical. It was philosophical. They were showing that intelligence wasn't limited to biological brains or computer circuits. Intelligence could be something more fluid, more connected. Weeks turned into months.
More tests, more discoveries.
The small laboratory in Millbrook became a hub of innovation.
Researchers from around the world started paying attention to what Elena and her team were doing. James, the original volunteer, became an important part of their research. His ability to connect with the system was remarkable.
He could solve complex problems faster than anyone had ever seen.
But more importantly, he could explain how he did it in ways that made sense to both humans and machines. The city began to whisper.
Rumors spread about the strange research happening in the quiet laboratory. Some people were excited, others were scared. Change always brought mixed emotions. Elena understood the concerns.
She knew that any significant technological advancement would face resistance. But she also knew that progress was inevitable. Humanity had always been about pushing boundaries, about discovering what seemed impossible. As winter approached, the team prepared for their most significant test yet. They were ready to demonstrate their discovery to a larger audience. The potential was enormous, from solving global challenges to understanding human consciousness in entirely new ways. The world was about to change, and it would start right here in this small laboratory in Millbrook. No dramatic speeches, no grand announcements. Just quiet, persistent work that would reshape human understanding. Marcus looked at Elena and smiled. Sarah continued her careful documentation. James prepared for another test. And outside, the city continued its rhythm, unaware that everything was about to be different. Something remarkable was coming. And it all started with a simple idea, that intelligence could be something more than anyone had ever imagined.